Uh, uh. Wait, that may or may not be working. Fudge. Oh no, that's fine. Okay. So, this is purely experimental. Hence why the streaming time is a little different from usual for today. So today we are going to be experimenting with stuff. And I hope that it works, to put it simply. So this is probably going to be a little bit weird of a stream, but I hope you guys don't mind too much. Oh, there was one thing I meant to set up, but I forgot. Actually, I could technically do that right now. Let me do it real quick. Sorry about this, guys. Hopefully, this is fun. You can probably hear me clicking around right now. But okay. This. I'm gonna stop this scene actually. Let me make sure that everything's working before we do everything that's necessary. Okay. Let's see if this works. Oh, that's loud. That is very nice. Okay, I'm glad this is working out as I hoped it would. I'm gonna have to edit a couple of things moving forward, but I think this is almost exactly the way I want things to work. Okay, sorry about how long it took for me to set everything up. Did not mean to take as long as I did. Okay. Hello. I've talked about doing this for a while. And this is gonna be the first experimental part of it. So, for those of you who don't know, on my channel, I've been doing these streams called The Plan streams. It was a thing that I did when I think one of my first streams back in 2022, and the whole point of it was just chatting streams are kind of suck when you don't have an audience, and obviously when you first start streaming you don't really have anybody watching you. And so my solution to that was I will play Minecraft and I'm just gonna dig a tunnel. Okay, I'm just gonna dig a tunnel using whatever resources I find while talking about whatever comes to mind, because it's you don't have to think that much when you're just digging in Minecraft. I can just say whatever comes to mind or talk to chat, and it can be very engaging and it'll work out very well as a just chatting stream, right? That was like the whole premise behind The Plan. And fast forward 2 years of doing this intermittently for like once every few months or give or take, and we have a pretty big freaking tunnel. Unfortunately, I don't have the VODs for all of my planned streams. Otherwise, I would totally go back and make highlights of them because I think there's a lot of stuff that I talk about on these streams that never really see the light of day often. But here, I've decided to start doing the planned streams in a very different format. Previously, when I did them, I would just start streaming and talk about whatever the heck I wanted to. But this time around, I want to start actually outlining a topic that I would like to talk about during these streams and basically make things a little bit more streamlined. So instead of just talking for 1 to 3 or 4 hours or however long I end up doing it, I put a limit to how long I talk about a topic and then kind of see how things go. So the way I've limited myself is we're going to essentially be traveling from where my current base is to the end of the tunnel. We're gonna dig through 2 diamond pickaxes. Each pickaxe generally takes me about 30 to 40 minutes to run through, and then we run back through the tunnel. Basically, for each time I do this set of streams, it's gonna be different. Hi, Lily Harry, how are you? I'm doing fine, thank you. So for today's topic, I want to talk about a topic that I could talk about very frequently because I do this a lot, and yeah, I hope you're doing well too, Lily. I talk about VTubing a lot as a streaming. How often do you stream? Less nowadays. I used to stream frequently. Now I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Either around this time or a little bit later in the day. Okay, so with everything kind of said and done, today's topic is about streaming as a VTuber, and my experience with it and how different of an experience it can be. And with that kind of said, we set off into the tunnel that I've spent a very long time digging into. To first start things off, what kind of game and stream? I do variety streams, and so I basically just play whatever I want. Right now I'm playing Battle World. Thank you so much for the follow, I appreciate it. I've been playing, my most recent stream I did Pal World. Today I'm doing a just chatting stream essentially, where I just talk about a topic while I dig. Because, you know, sometimes when you stream and you want to talk about stuff, it's easier to do it while you're doing stuff. But I think recently I finished Digimon. So I did Digimon before Pal World, and before that I was playing Only Up. Favorite game? That's a really hard question. My easiest answer are games like Celeste, Hollow Knight. I played a lot of Kingdom Hearts for a period of time. That kind of stuff. I have a very wide plethora of games that I like to play. So I try new things and do what I think is interesting when I stream them. Is my answer to that. It was probably not the best answer, but hey, there you go. I wouldn't necessarily say Celeste and Hollow Knight or games like that are like my favorite games, but they're very easy answers for me to give. How long your stream going for? Today is going to be a shorter stream. I was planning on just talking about something, but normally I stream for 3 to 4 hours. My most recent stream I think was around 4 to 5 hours long. I've been thinking about, or I've been trying to expand that a little bit, but IRL scheduling makes things a little bit awkward. I don't know about amazing, but I guess that is one way of putting it. So to start things off, about, you don't mind, can I ask you a question? Yeah, go for it. I don't mind. To start things off around the topic that I was planning on talking about today, which was what it's like being streaming as a VTuber, I would like to state, by the way, you can interrupt me, I'll answer. I would like to state that my personality and the way I stream doesn't mesh very well in the VTube space, which is like really weird to say, but I'll kind of get to that in a sec. Now, when I refer to the VTube community, I am more referring to, how should I say? I'm more referring to a very specific indie space within the VTuber community. Because the VTube community is like very, very massive, and there's a lot that goes into it. And so when I talk about what it's like to stream in the VTube space, I'm talking about a very specific aspect of it. Have you got all essentials for your stream stuff like logo, banner, overlay, emotes, badges, VTuber models, etc.? I have everything that I want right now. I might want stuff more in the future, but as of right now, I'm good. I'm not looking for anything new if that's what you're asking. And I probably won't be anytime soon, but I might in the future. Uh, so when I talk about the VTube space, the space that I'm talking about is very specific to the very small indie space. And it's very apt to call the VTube community a community because there's a ton of smaller groups in the VTube community, if that makes sense. So you can have a ton of small groups of people in the community that interact with one another that never interact with others. And a lot of the time, I don't know about most, but a lot of the time these groups can be very healthy, can be very nice. Everybody in the community, those communities and groups within the larger community are probably doing their own thing, having a great time, doing whatever they want to do, streaming in their own time, whatever. The main issue comes with other groups, because as you know, there's always a loud minority when it comes to this kind of thing. There's a very loud minority when it comes to like any community, really. So the community I'm talking about more lines up with other small groups rather than everything as a whole. I'm probably not going to be talking about this super professionally, or probably not going to be very eloquent when I say this, because I've thought this through a couple of times, but I haven't really actually talked about it out loud. Because usually I try and skirt around specific details, and I'm not trying to start any drama or start any fights or anything. But I do think it's important to reference this when I start talking about this. So, with that kind of said, let me talk about myself for a little bit, which I think is relatively important when it comes to, my experience in the VTube community. I started down the VTuber rabbit hole like mid 2021 ish. I've known about VTubers way before then. I actually saw a couple of Kuzuna Ai's earliest videos, and at the time I thought it was pretty weird, and that, I mean, maybe it would catch on, but it wasn't really a thing that I would be interested in. And then, eventually I reached a point where, I started seeing a lot more content creators that were VTubers that were very funny and entertaining, in my opinion. With that said, with everything said and done on that front, I started the rabbit hole like mid 2021, and for about a year I kind of drove myself deeper and deeper. I initially started from seeing random clips in my YouTube feed, and then the next thing I know, I was watching like longer clips, like highlight stuff for like Hololive specifically. I started off with Hololive, and the next thing I know, I was interested and I started watching actual streams. I thought to myself, hey, these streamers are really entertaining, and they're Japanese, and I've been meaning to kind of work on my Japanese for a really long time, and I figured, hey, my Japanese is good enough to understand the basics of, the streams. So why not just keep watching, or actually watch the streams in my own time and see what I can pick apart and figure things out, and then watch stuff. And fast forward to 2022, I've been doing this. I'm not super deep in the rabbit hole, but I do watch VTubers every once in a while and see the occasional clip. And I saw a bunch of audition forms for different groups while I was like job hunting over the summer of 2022, and I was like, or 2021, sorry, and I was like, hey, let me look into that. So I looked for some, I auditioned for some. Didn't take me too long, and next thing I know, I was accepted into a small indie VTuber group called the Laku Nation VTuber group. If you don't know what that is, I have a video talking about it. But essentially, it was just a very small male VTuber group, not a corporation or anything. It was very small, very tight knit, and I had a great time when I first started. And during the period of time when I first started VTubing, you have to understand that VTubing encompasses a lot larger than just streaming to a certain degree. Of course, because there's so many smaller communities and groups within the VTube community, this doesn't always apply, but generally speaking, being a VTuber is very different from just becoming a streamer. And that's kind of where some of the problems lie, but I'll kind of get to that a little bit later. Essentially, there are some expectations put up when it comes to VTubing, especially during the period of time of COVID, I think, where a lot of people are spending more time staying home and watching and consuming more media and content creation. And so I think there was almost a very small expectation of VTubers to have very specific skill sets, if that makes sense. So it was expected for VTube, like, maybe people wouldn't explicitly tell you, oh, you should be able to draw or anything, but there's a slight expectation that as a VTuber, you should be able to maybe draw, maybe be able to sing, maybe be like very funny, or essentially there's like a sign of competency to being a VTuber. I think this mostly applies to the fact that VTuber got popular through corporations, like corporate VTubers, and they hold a higher standard for their streamers, and they're almost trained to be entertaining and to be as good as they are. And so when indie VTubers when it became a lot easier to become a VTuber, because let's face it, the general costs of becoming a VTuber can be pretty expensive to get your own personal model, to get it rigged. And then if you want to get stuff like emotes and overlays right off the bat, like the costs do get pretty darn expensive. Nowadays though, there are a ton of free assets that you can use. VTubing is probably as easy now, like it's been very, very easy to get into recently if you're willing to not get your own model or own personal model. And even if you do, there are ways to kind of help make that a little bit easier to do. So with that said, there's almost a slight expectations from as like a small indie VTuber yourself to be positive, to be really good at what you do, to be, it's a kind of expectation that you wouldn't see anywhere else, I think, in the streaming space, because as streamers, like most people, when you want to stream, you just kind of do it. You don't really think about it. It's just, oh, I feel like streaming, let's do it. And you do it, and if, you have a fun time with it. But while, in a way, becoming a VTuber, you have to kind of build yourself up and have a community beforehand to a certain degree. So, you're almost expected to join, like, get a social media, start interacting with other VTubers. You're expected to, like, have like a much larger than normal social network. It's kind of nice from a very basic perspective, because when you join the space initially, people will be very excited for you. You show up on Twitter, you make your Twitter account, you post about, oh, this is my model, or hey, I'm a new VTuber, can I have some advice and all that. and you're gonna get a lot of positive feedback. You're gonna have a bunch of people that show up and be like, "Oh wow, like your model looks really cool," or "Hey, like if you need advice, here's some." Like as long as you put yourself out there, you will find people that are willing to help you out and be really excited and happy with you. And you know, depending on how things go, you could even find a really nice community and group of friends that you would never really be able to get if you're just streaming on your own, and you know, kind of have to build up your own community from scratch. VTubing, there's almost an innate community tied to it, and honestly, it's pretty good. I mean, generally speaking, it is pretty fun to just start streaming and then to meet a bunch of other people who have similar passions to you of like streaming and like weeb culture, like otaku weeb culture, or like, you know, being able to stream without, like, some people don't become VTubers because they just don't want to stream with their face, but they still want something on the screen. And you know, like a lot of people have a lot of similarities in the space, and so it becomes pretty easy to relate to people within the space. And so, you know, initially you can find some really nice people and you'll have a good time with it. The main issue for me is when you get a little bit deeper into things. When you start looking a little bit deeper into how the community works, or how certain community works, rather, not everyone as a whole. And you recognize some of the holes that start popping up. Because it's really easy to become a VTuber, and because there's a ton of expectations, like just being a VTuber, you have a very wide plethora of personalities and people that end up joining the space, which is not a bad thing inherently. Now, the main problem, generally speaking, is how quickly drama passes through and how quickly people can become disengaged or disassociated with one another. I've seen so many like cancellations of people complaining about one another, or people that are just complaining about something in the space and trying to, you know, get a bunch of other people to rally behind them. And because VTubers are VTubers, people tend to jump the gun to a certain degree, like take the side of the VTuber, or like pick a side instantly and start fighting pretty early on. And while, I mean, under normal circumstances, how do I even put this, man? This is really hard. Maybe it's better if I put up like an example. There's like a clockwork when you check social media on Twitter. When I first started streaming, I was surprisingly, to my current audience, very, very active on Twitter. I was insanely active on Twitter. And so I was kind of there when, you know, people started hearing about me and people started getting hyped, especially since I was in a group. People were really hyped about the group. Like, oh, wow, there's a male VTuber group. That's pretty rare. Most like VTuber groups are like all female, or like co male and female, but mostly female, right? So we got a bit of traction starting out, and it was, from my perspective at the time, it was great. Like I had a bunch of people like messaging me on social media being like, hey, I'm so excited for when you start streaming and all that, and like there's like a bunch of positivity. But then when I kind of sat down to really think about it, I still don't know like more than half the people that messaged me during that period of time. I never really interacted with them. It was mostly just like an expectation almost of, hey, this guy's debuting, let's go support them, even though I don't know who they are or what they do. I'm just gonna do it anyway, which can cause problems depending on who the people are involved. But I don't think that this is inherently a bad thing. Again, I think the VTube space at its best is really, really great. The problem is at its lowest point, the VTuber space can be almost toxic to a certain degree. I remember I was talking with another friend of mine about this, and she expressed it by calling it toxic positivity. At the time, I called it fake positivity because I have more of a idealistic way of approaching people in general. But I do think toxic positivity fits a tad more to a certain degree because of how positive people will initially be to you. But it also becomes really easy for people to drop said positivity when things don't suit their agenda. Because people in in the VTuber indie VTuber space tend to be very specific with how they want things to be, how they want their community and the people that they interact with. And as a result, people are super sensitive about things. Now, I don't want to go super into detail with this because I have a lot of personal examples of this and I don't want to, mention specific people or do anything like that. Um, but to give kind of a brief example or give something, I guess. I remember one time while I was streaming, when I first started streaming, and I would always have random, VTubers show up to congratulate me or to like check out how I'm streaming and how things are, and to like kind of socialize and make friends. But there's this person who showed up, and they were very excited, and like I knew other people, or I was talking to people that knew this person. They're like, "Yeah, this person's great," and I was like, oh, "Okay." So he shows up in my stream, and we talk for a bit, and he seems really chill. Uh, as you guys might know, VTubers in general tend to have specific names, uh, certain names rather, that can be, difficult to say. Not just like Japanese names, but people like essentially VTube models are people's OCs, and they can come up with like, names from all sorts of different inspirations. This person had a name that I wasn't completely sure how to pronounce. And so I started playing with the idea with it. I started, hey, is it pronounced like this? Is it pronounced like that? And the entire time, because of the way that I am, I was kind of laughing to myself and like kind of treating it like a game in a way. Because I think names are cool and I just want to make sure I was getting it right. But I was also trying to, have a little bit of fun with it, okay, in a way. What I didn't realize is that the person was really hurt about that. And I mean, I'm not saying that what they did, getting hurt about that is a bad thing, because it was probably partly my fault too for playing with the idea with somebody who I wasn't super close with. But they were very hurt about it, and they later messaged me about it, and they told me, "Hey, what you did was not okay, and what you hurt my feelings, and I just wanted to let you know that I did not like what you did," which is reasonable, right? They just very maturely they told me, "Hey, what you did, I didn't like," and I told them, "Hey, I'm really sorry about that. Uh, I didn't mean it to be like that way. I didn't know how to pronounce your name, and I was just kind of playing around with your name a little bit, and I didn't know that was gonna hurt you." Uh, and you might say, "Oh, like that seems like a really mature way of putting it," or like that person, like, what do you mean? Like that's not a example for like a bad thing that ever happened. But you have to understand that this is like an example of sensitivity when it goes okay. I haven't spoken to that person since, but that was like a pretty reasonable response from both people, I think. I'm not completely in the right either. I completely understand that the way that I can come off, I can be very aggressive in a way that people aren't super comfortable with in a way, and that's my fault. I'm not, completely taking off the blame. The issue is that sometimes people can get really sensitive over things, and it can blow up in very unexpected ways. Uh, I think when I first, not I think, when I first started streaming around the first like few months, I saw a clockwork like time period where people, specifically other male VTubers, would complain about, oh, as male VTubers, so much harder to gain an audience compared to female VTubers, and then immediately this whole topic would blow up. It would either be female VTubers just being like, oh, like, oh, stop like whining and get over and just stream and like do what you need to do. And, you know, obviously people weren't talking at the way that I am explaining it to you. People are a lot meaner about these topics. I'm just trying to relay it in a certain way. And people got very upset very easily. And these topics weren't, it was not rare for people to dunk on the idea of like male VTubers not getting as much as female VTubers, or like people trying to defend it or whatnot. I've seen this topic show up at least 3 or 4 times during like the 6, 7, 8 months that I was streaming and checking my social media relatively frequently to what I am now. And it sucked. It I would always see in my when I was in my Twitter feed people talking about, oh wow, this person's about to debut. Like go check them out. Like this person's model's really cool. You have to check them out, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll do that. And then immediately, oh whoops, I miscounted. And then soon, like 2 feeds down, it'll be someone being like, "Oh my god, this person's terrible. Don't interact with them. Don't do anything. This is awful." And I don't know who to believe and all that. And I know some personal friends who I met through the space that are, I think, pretty cool people, get wrapped up in different forms of drama and stuff and they end up getting hurt and losing friends from it. And then I've had to comfort some people, and there's a lot that goes on, generally speaking. Uh, and from a very surface, or the perspective of certain groups within the community, things suck. Now, it's it's maybe a bit much for me to just like refer to it as like a cesspool and move on. Because as I've said earlier, there are some genuinely really nice people in this community that I've met. There are some people that I've made lasting friendships with that I still hold dear to this day, even if I don't talk to them as much. There's some really cool people that I've met that at the time I really hoped that I would talk with them more, but we never ended up doing so because I kind of stopped communicating with people. That was like another expectation actually with being a VTuber, which is building connections and collabing all the time. And me personally, I don't like collabing. I really don't like collabing. I've talked about this before, but and I'll talk about it as many times as I need to. But collabing from a certain perspective, uh, just is not great for the people involved, I don't think. Now, if you can work things out fine, then I think collabs are great. But because the way that VTubers collab is everyone in the VTube community, or okay, maybe everyone is a bit of a stretch, but a lot of the time when you stream a collab, everybody wants to stream. Everybody in the collab wants to stream their perspective because they want to like showcase what they're doing and build up their community. And that's reasonable, right? I would say. The main issue is the way I see it. When you stream normally, you have to deal with two things. You have to deal with your chats. You have to talk to your chat. You have to be as engaging as you can while, two, you're playing a game and you trying to beat the game or pass the game or whatever, or like be decent. And this is not easy. There's a reason why a lot of people, when they play games, they're silent. Even when you're talking with friends or you're playing with friends, it's a lot more difficult to talk while you're playing a game versus when you're not. Particularly when you're playing something that's a little bit more intensive versus something that's a little bit more, easier on the brain, to put it in one way. And so when you collab, you add a third variable. Not only do you have to focus on the game you're playing and the chat that you're, streaming to, you also have to pay attention to the people that you're collabing with, which I think is pretty important as well. And generally, especially in the small indie VTube community where everyone are relatively new to streaming or they're still improving on how to stream and stuff, something is going to suffer. Whether it be one thing or two things, something is going to suffer. whether it be, you don't talk to chat as much, you solely focus on the game and the people that you're playing with, which at that point, like, you might as well just not stream, in my opinion. I mean, I can kind of see it being interesting if, like, you're a professional level player and you're showcasing how good you are at the game with other professional level players. But still, generally speaking, I don't think it's worth, like, streaming if you're not gonna talk to chat like very often, unless, like, you have another agenda, which is to, promote something or showcase something, or you're just really good at the game and people find your gameplay in and of itself like entertaining enough that you don't have to talk to chat. You could end up neglecting your own gameplay, which I think is the best case scenario, honestly. I think it's way better if you play badly, but if you're still engaging with the people you're playing and your chat, I mean, it's more funny. It's a lot funnier if you're just bad at the game that you're playing, right? Or you don't talk to the people you're collabing with. And I tend to see people. I'm not saying this is what everybody does, or this is okay. I did say tend, but this is not the tendency. But the few times that I've collabed with people, there were moments where I would be talking with somebody and then they wouldn't respond. And after about like 10, 20 seconds, they would say, "Oh, sorry, I was talking to my chat." And I'm like, okay, that's fair, I guess. But it's really frustrating when I'm trying to play a game with somebody and their focus is a lot more on their chat than, me, the person I'm playing with. Especially at the time, it was a game I've never played before. And I was asking them questions because they were more experienced with the game. And they were just like, "Oh, sorry, what was your question? I wasn't paying attention. I was talking to chat." And it was just, it wasn't very fun for me. And I have a firm belief that if you as a streamer, if you aren't enjoying yourself, it doesn't take a genius for someone in chat to recognize that you're not having fun, and it doesn't make the stream, that much more interesting. So that's why I think collabing isn't great. And in my opinion, the best way to collab is just to have only one person stream, maybe two people stream. If you have more than two people. But if you have two people collabing, just have one person stream. It's not worth having to, like, more than that stream at the same time. But there's a very big emphasis in the VTuber community to constantly grow and constantly socialize and connect with people. Which I think is under normal circumstances is fine. But sometimes people can get connected with people without really knowing who they are, and it ends up becoming really bad when you realize that the person that you are trying to make friends with is not the person that you thought they were, and they end up being the kind of person that you don't really want to hang out with anymore. And this kind of turns it into, this ends up becoming a moment where people start pointing fingers and start getting upset at each other. And instead, sometimes when the people involved aren't communicating things properly, you can get a lot of upset people on social media. Which is, never fun. I mean, it happens often, but it's not very fun. And to round this out from the beginning of the stream when I was talking about myself earlier, my personality, generally speaking, is very focused on if I am comfortable with you or if I like you, I will immediately start teasing you. It's my way of showing affection to people. I think it's really comfortable to know that I can kind of poke fun at somebody, like poke holes at somebody, or like tease them for things they do, like, and them being perfectly fine with it, and them also teasing me back. That's how a lot of my friend dynamics work, and it's just how I am as a person. The main issue is that a lot of people that I've met don't really appreciate the way that I express affection, and they take things a lot more seriously than I intend them to be. Now, I've talked a lot of crap about this, and I would like to say before um people start talking about, oh, like this guy freaking hates VTubers or whatnot, or like this community freaking sucks. I would like to point out that this is a minority. Maybe not even a minority. But there are some genuinely really good circles that you can find of people that are really cool, that share your interests, and that you can have a great time with. I still, as I said earlier, I still have some people I've met through the VTube space that I hold very close to my heart and I still enjoy talking to. The main, or I was going to say like another, I guess, quote unquote issue, but I mean, there isn't really much I can say that I haven't already covered. And from like a larger perspective outside of the indie VTuber space, I would like to point out that everything that I was talking about talks about the small indie VTuber space. Because if you look up towards the larger indie VTubers, they have grown successful enough to the point where they don't really worry about this kind of stuff anymore. Don't get me wrong, they're definitely bad apples among the more successful indie VTubers or the larger indie VTubers. I'm just saying, generally speaking, the hardest part of being indie and being a VTuber is, you know, starting off and then having to deal with everybody else who is also a small indie VTuber. And, you know, sometimes not everybody else is very not nice. I did not word that very well. Let me redo that. Sometimes the people that you meet in the space that are also trying to grow just like you are aren't as nice as you hope that they would end up being, or they're not as nice as they portray themselves, which I think is the big thing. There's a lot of fake positivity or toxic positivity, whatever you prefer, where people would be really happy for you and talk with you and be excited about everything with you, but in the end they, you know, are only sticking around long enough to see what they can get from you, and when they realize that you have nothing more to offer, then they leave. Or I guess that's probably the best case scenario, where they just leave. And the worst case scenario is they realize maybe they can try and get more from you, and then they instead decide to start pointing fingers and being meaner than they were before. But if you look at everything else, like corporate VTuber stuff, like, yeah, there's some sad things that happen. Like recently, there's a couple of VTubers that have been terminated or are retiring from certain corporations, and that's sad. And sometimes corporate VTubers say or do things that not everyone's really cool with. But generally speaking, like the communities behind them are a lot more positive because, you know, they're corporate. And usually they have to go through some screening process in order for these companies to get the people that they want, and usually the people that they choose are pretty good people and funny people, and people who don't have like a huge bad agenda that everyone can tell from a glance, that kind of stuff. And even in the indie VTube side, there are stuff like the VTuber Awards that occurred like a couple of months back, run by Fillion, another I think pretty sure she's indie. I could be wrong, but like the event itself was like a huge celebration of all the good things about the community, and that's like, I would say it's a culmination of all the positive points that make you realize, hey, this community is good and there are really good things about it. But the reason why sometimes streaming as a VTuber just sucks is that there's just a lot of expectations for you to do stuff, and sometimes, you know, when you try and communicate and socialize with people, things don't always go the way that you hope that they would go, which is really, really unfortunate. And I wish that, I mean, I wish that people would just be nicer, but I mean, I guess people are being nice, but with, you know, quote unquote nice. But it can be pretty difficult to reach the point of I just want positive, like, things to be great, and sometimes it might be lonely because you realize maybe the best thing to do is just to stream in your own time and not do anything with anyone, and that's kind of what I've been doing. Honestly, I've realized it's way more difficult for me to try and cater towards other people and try and, you know, be happy with people that I might not always vibe with. Not to say that I don't like them, just to say that I don't connect with the like certain types of people very well, and I'd rather hang out with certain other people than, you know, others. I'm not wording this very well, and I'm sorry about that. But I mean, if you were to look at smaller streamers compared to small VTubers, you notice that smaller streamers tend to be a lot more chill compared to VTubers in terms of growth, in terms of a lot of things. And of course, there are always bad apples in every single community. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. Where the fudge did my music go? That probably disappeared a while ago. There you go. I just realized that dropped a while back, and I apologize for that. It's not a big deal, but my bad. But I mean, things aren't always ideal, I guess, is the way that I want to put it. But yeah, no, that's my very short spiel on the topic. Again, this is gonna be a lot more experimental in general. Dang, we're not even 2 pickaxes through, and I still have like another whole pickaxe to deal with, and I pretty much ran through everything I wanted to talk about. What other things are there to talk about this? I mean, there's scammers, I guess, people who try and take advantage of people who are starting off in the space, and because a lot of people in the VTube space tend to be a little bit on the younger side. And so apparently it becomes pretty easy to try and market yourself and get as much money from relatively young and naive people compared to people who are slightly more jaded. Who would have thought? I wouldn't have. I have a list, so I'm currently like going through it real quick. But yeah, like there are different like circles within the VTube community. There are the large corporations, there's the indie people, there's even like viewers are almost their own community in a way, because there are clippers and there are well, I guess technically communities center around certain VTubers, and sometimes there's a lot of overlap, especially with company VTubers, but in other ways it's not that simple. Yeah, classic chatter into offering. You're talking about the previous chatter. It happens. I don't I used to try and drive them away, but I realized I stopped caring about that. I'm gonna be honest. If someone wants to chat me up before offering services, then, you know, good for them. It kind of worked out though, because I did talk about how people try to like sell stuff and whatnot to the VTubers a lot of the time. But yeah, no, it's the reason why I tend to keep to myself when I stream. I don't really reach out to people for collabs, or I'm not super active on social media anymore like I used to be. Mostly just because I realize that it's just easier for me to do things my way, and also I'm just kind of tired of dealing with drama. Not even dealing with it, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't dealt with a lot of VTuber drama stuff personally. Just more of I've met a lot of people and I've seen them go through their own set of VTuber drama, and it's just not fun. Ever. It's never fun to see people get really sensitive about something that they probably didn't have to, or people not handling things in a way that outside of pointing fingers and yelling at each other on Twitter, or on the site formerly known as Twitter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I mean, generally speaking, I'm just gonna be on a very weird schedule for I'll hit you up for the Eternal thing one day, Copium. Oh yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. It's gonna be on a very weird schedule for the next 2 months. I'm still trying to figure out my schedule, I'll be honest with you, Vision. Although I do appreciate you stopping by more often. Although I guess it's easier now that I've actually told you what my schedule is. And I've started streaming more frequently. But yeah, it's part of the reason why I don't consider myself fully a VTuber outside of the fact that I have a model. Because I tend to conduct myself in a way that's not VTuber-ish. For example, there's a lot of clout chasers among VTubers, I think, where people try and do their best to just gather as many people as possible in the easiest way possible. And like, I think one of the easiest ways is making lewd jokes because they just kind of happen. And so there's a lot of lewd tubers, as they call them, running around. And it was kind of frustrating meeting new people only to later realize that they're a lewd tuber. And when I followed them on Twitter, my feed was instantly filled with pretty much like prawn. Is one way to put that. And so I'd end up having to unfollow them, and then sometimes I had a couple people just going like, "Why did you unfollow me? You don't like me. You just followed me so I could follow you back or something." And I guess there was that too. The whole expectation of if you follow, you had to follow back. That really screwed me up. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I always expected when I first joined the social media train. I thought the expectation was when you follow somebody, you follow them back, and then you have to be friends immediately. But that is not always the case, and I've just learned just to follow people that I actually speak with and like, rather than just following people just because they also push the follow button. Oh yeah, and I've met a lot of people in very weird ways. Outside of just like meeting somebody in social media or meeting someone through another person. I remember, for example, one of my first collab streams was an Among Us stream. Or it was an Among Us collab because that was, really popular during that period of time. And let's just say that meeting people for the first time and then immediately having to lie and gaslight them and just, generally just try and, win this game while certain people are trying to, kill and lie and all that stuff. Especially when you don't know tells or you don't know how okay people are with certain things. It can be pretty difficult to get to know people. It can be very difficult to get to know people that way. Surprisingly, I know. Very, very surprising. I think the collabs that I enjoyed the most were definitely the ones where I personally just had people that I liked come together to do something. And not all of us were streaming. I remember one of the streams, I think it was a Gartic phone stream, only half of us were streaming, which out of if out of 6 people, 3 people are streaming, you'd say that's a lot of people. I agree, but it's way less compared, the ratio is way less compared to a 4-person collab and everybody is streaming. I did a Phasmophobia stream with some people that I like, and it was really frustrating because I wanted to interact with the people that I liked, hence why I was collabing with them. But we were all too focused on the game or our own chats to properly talk with each other. Because I'm not saying that I'm completely exempt from that problem. I also struggle with stuff, and I make a lot of mistakes too, unfortunately. Or fortunately. I think making mistakes is, a part of... It is an experience that everyone is privy to. I think it's more just who's willing to admit that they made a mistake. I need to start from the left side. There's a cave above me, and trying to dig through the cave is going to be a little bit of a pain because I'm going to have to constantly be covering up the tunnel. But that's the reason why I think VTubing is hard. It's probably not what you would, or it's probably not the adjective you would use for it. It's just a lot, honestly. Gotta play games off cam for sure, though it is hard. Yeah, it's not easy for sure. I've talked about this a lot too, about the collab bit, but like VTubing in general. Like, I feel like VTubing should not be more difficult than streaming normally. Outside of the fact that you need a higher end computer so you could run VTube Studio. Or whatever program the 3D Vroid users use, because I actually don't know what they use. I feel like it shouldn't be any different, but I think it's because VTubing has been paved so much by corporate VTubers that there's almost an expectation that everybody has to be good at everything they do, which is unfortunate, but in a weird way, it's kind of understandable. And that's why I've kind of left the community, kind of. I mean, I'm still around, obviously. I'm still streaming with a model. Which, you know, would be more than enough for people to just say, yeah, no, I am a VTuber. Which, I mean, I suppose I am. Oh, did I not fill that in? I guess I didn't. I thought I did. Whoopsie. So essentially what I'm saying is if there are like anybody that still wants to be a VTuber, first and foremost, good for you. Now it's like super easy to become one as long as you're not super picky about your model. There are a ton of free assets online that you can utilize. One of my favorite models I've ever seen is a free one. I think it's called Mo or something. I'll have to double check it, but it's a VTuber model and the art style is purely based off of Omori, and I love it. It looks so good. I'd say I've been blessed with meeting VTubers close enough to do D&D weekly. I did do D&D with some VTubers, but I've noticed that sometimes VTubers tend to be a lot more introverted for some reason. I think it's the whole like I don't want to show my face but I still want to stream and do stuff, like, you know, human interaction, because who doesn't like human interaction? And I ended up being super outspoken, and I felt really bad because I felt like I was talking over everybody, and so I decided, I don't know if Vibe is ever gonna see this. I'd feel really bad if he ever, actually he doesn't watch my streams, but if he ever sees this, I'm sorry. But I feel like I was too outspoken in the thing, and I felt bad, so I decided, and even though I'm sure not everyone minded, I would much prefer not to be the main spokesperson in a D&D group. Brainworms are always a thing too, yeah, tons of free ones, even highly customizable ones. Yeah. It's like really easy to become a, yeah, that was the topic I was talking about. Yeah, it's really easy to become a VTuber now, or because before you would have to pay for your own model, and then you had to pay for rigging, and then if you wanted more, you'd have to pay for emotes, and then you had to pay for like so much stuff, and the costs stack up really fast. But now, like, the most expensive bits are pretty easy, and if you don't, you know, have a good enough computer to like run VTube Studio or anything, you could always just be a PNG tuber, just commission like a bust. You don't even need like a full model, just the top half is like more than enough to stream. Like, hell, look at me, I don't even have hands, bro. And like surprisingly, busts aren't that expensive to commission. I've seen an artist, like a pretty decent artist, do like model busts or like, you know, PNG art for VTubers for like $60, which sounds like a lot, but then you remember, oh yeah, that's the same price as like Cyberpunk. And it enables you to, like, you know, stream as a VTuber but just use a PNG instead. Yeah, I'm kind of the face of the world, so I'm always worries. I'm fine with being the face. I just feel bad because I feel like I just talk over people, and I felt bad. And I was like, I'm good. It's not that I don't want to, it's just I felt like I intruded on a group, like a pre-established group of people who are already playing one-shots in D&D, and I kind of just showed up and I started talking over everyone. And I was like, whoops. After everything was over and done with, I'm like, you know, I know they enjoyed it, or like at least the ones I talked to enjoyed it. I don't know if everyone did, but at the same time, I think I would rather they, you know, continue to do their bit, and I will just like do mine. Yeah, you can even draw your own PNG yourself. Doesn't have to be good. Just has to be good enough. I think that's 5. Yeah, that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, if you want to be a VTuber, just be careful with who you talk to, because yeah, just be careful with who you talk to, and be mindful of how you conduct yourself around people. If you find the right friend group, like, good job. I think I got really lucky as well, in that I found a friend group that I appreciate a lot. But I also know that said people in my friend group have experienced things that I have not, that are not great. And I've also met some not so great people either, unfortunately. Walks of life. Just for some reason, it's pretty easy to hear the loud minority in the VTube space, especially on Twitter. My God, or the X, the formerly known as Twitter. I should probably stop caring about that, because who cares about whether or not it's called X or Twitter or whatnot? Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Sometimes being technically correct is funny, and I sometimes like being technically correct. I was about to say I like being technically correct, but technically that's not correct. Not all the time. Funnily enough, I fully expected to talk about this particular topic for like an hour and a half or something. I'm surprised I wrapped everything up in an hour. I'm looking over my sticky note right now. I think I covered everything. Let's see. My own personality. Yeah. Well, there you go. Not close, but I'd say closer than most VTubers, I would guess, for mine. Yeah. For sure. Scammers I talked about. Casual streaming versus VTubing I mentioned. Expectations. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. That's pretty much everything I wanted to cover, actually. I'm surprised. I thought I would spend more time talking about this. Clearly, I need to rethink this a little bit, because I need to plan this out a little bit more so that I can talk for a little bit longer, because I would like to be able to keep these conversations going for a little bit longer, or at least be able to talk about something on my own for like an hour and a half at the very minimum. But I mean, an hour is pretty good. Actually, technically less than an hour, because it took me some troubleshooting at the beginning of today's stream. I also need to fix the chat box. I don't know why it looks distorted like that. I don't know what happened. I didn't change it much. Clearly I had to do something about that. Among other things. You know, I kind of want to play Pal World now. Except I have decided that this is all I'm gonna do for today's stream because there's other stuff I need to do. Oh boy. Come on. I guess to be fair, when it comes to talking about this kind of stuff in the first place, I'm definitely not the best person to listen to because I wasn't super deep into anything, nor did I experience like some of the stuff that some other people I know that have experienced some bad stuff happening, such as commissioning art or commissioning something from somebody only to get ghosted later and never hear from them ever again, to make a close friend with somebody only to realize that they are relatively mentally unstable, and when you try and cut yourself off from them because they didn't want to become like a lifeline, the person ended up reacting a lot more than they expected. Meeting people for the first time and having to listen to people talk about stuff, or having to listen to them complain about something that you aren't really related to, but you end up being within the source, or kind of getting caught in the crossfire, so you end up having to get involved with stuff that you didn't really want to. I don't know. Interacting with people is too freaking hard. to put things very simply. But I mean, from like a very baseline perspective, and like at its core and at its best, the VTuber community is really great. It's just sometimes it's really hard to find the really good, like the genuinely good portions in people. You can get any of those issues if you don't reach out. Kind of. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. If you like kind of start streaming or VTubing with the expectations, or with your expectations already settled of like, you don't need to like please everybody, or you don't have to be like super good, you just gotta do what you gotta do, yeah, then I mean streaming just becomes like, or VTubing just becomes streaming, if that makes sense. Again, I don't think there should be a differential between streaming and VTubing, but there is, and I don't think that should be the case. I think VTubing should just be streaming, but instead of a web camera, I'm using VTube Studio or a model or a PNG. Instead, it's become its own thing, which I think to a certain degree is okay, but in other ways, it's something else. It's not as cool. It's just streaming with a tuber. With the V, in fact. But unfortunately, people don't treat it as such. Is it weird that I feel like some people think VTubing is more prestigious than just streaming normally? Like you have to have an overlay, you have to have a you have to have a bunch of emotes like straight out of the gate. You have to have like a lot of stuff that I feel like most other streamers don't have. Like when it comes to group, being like a +1 is better sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Yeah, the idol debut culture. Curse you, corporate VTubers. Curse you for raising the expectation in bar. Now everybody expects VTubers to be able to draw or sing. When clearly I can't do either. Generally speaking. Oh, I think it's supposed to be there. I don't know. Did I count correctly? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I did. Oh my gosh, I'm sad. That was just my introversy speaking. Not necessarily. I wouldn't. I mean, it could be, but I think what you've said is valid. I don't know how your introversy converts into that, rather. I'm gonna be honest. Let's be honest. Introversion and extroversion is just fake. It doesn't exist. It's just people who want to put themselves in little boxes so that they can have an excuse. No, I'm kidding. I'm kind of kidding. I think people rely on the whole introversion versus extroversion thing too much. I mean, there definitely are people with a smaller social battery than others. And I do think it's reasonable for you to say, my social battery is pooped. And for, you know, it to be a legitimate reason why you shouldn't socialize. But I do think some people use it too much as a shield. But like, I mean, what can I say? As an introvert myself, I'm super shy initially. With certain people, it gets tiring. I guess that's fair, yeah. I think it's because I've lived through the education system from both the perspective of a student and as a teacher, and I've met a bunch of like super high energy teachers, and I've had to take classes with them in college, and I guess some of it rubbed off in a weird way, in that I have slightly more energy to deal with people now. I've never really had an issue with like my social battery is really weird in that it lasts indefinitely, but, and this is a big but, once the social interaction is over and I get to like sit down and relax and chill and think about what just happened, then I just die. And then it's like actually over. My social battery like comes and goes like the wind. I wonder if it's... Oh god. Oh lord. Oh, I don't think I'm dead, but this is unfortunately gonna hurt. Yeah, I think I'm fine. It's just gonna be painful. Usually only going out twice. Yeah. I mean, I would say a lot of people's social batteries just works differently. And I mean, me knowing how my battery works, and understanding how other people's battery works, it became really easy for me to understand that like, oh yeah, no, like some people get super tired super quickly, while people like me can just keep going. It's just I die afterwards. I think there is a part of me that is fairly extroverted, and that I can just like, some days I can just talk with people all freaking day and it doesn't bother me like at all. I should probably put a torch down. I should probably also eat some bread in case I accidentally set myself on fire again. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we line it up and then run across. So I got the chance to get home and rest for 30 minutes. It's just... Oh, I thought my chat bugged and I didn't see it. No, you just didn't finish that. Maybe I'm just being too much of a hard head and just being like Actually, I'm not even trying to say that social battery doesn't exist. It clearly does. It's just I think some people over exaggerate it too much and try and make it a huge excuse for not being able to socialize when I think they're just scared to. Stop being scared and get out there and do crap. No, I don't actually think that way. I don't know. I'm like an enigma in my own mind. I think everyone thinks that. Like, I don't think anybody looks at themselves and, or, okay, maybe there probably are people that look at themselves and be like, I am a normal person. But I mean, like, I think some people, a lot of people tend to look at themselves and think I'm weird because nobody knows what goes on in your head, but you do. And so it's easier to just be like, dang, I'm so freaking weird because I have these weird thoughts in my head. But, we all have things and crazy things that we'd like to do, like running up to a chocolate fondue fountain and just like freaking jumping in, even though, you know, you're not supposed to do that. Brainworm, imposter syndrome. Unfortunately, you know yourself best. Therefore, you know how to make it hurt the most. Wait. Oh, I'll just do it that way. Nice. I've like learned to accept that no matter like how things go, I'm always gonna know how to hurt myself the most, like mentally speaking. And so I just have to deal with it and then just kind of work my life around that rather than base it. By that I mean, like, don't base my life around my imposter syndrome telling me how terrible of a person I am and how things will never work out the way that I hoped they would. Oh, fudge. I think I blocked it. I'm not sure. Just don't burn my torch. I did not block it. As long as I don't set myself on fire again, we should be fine. Shma all the pain away. It's the reason why I think the 21st century humor has a very large emphasis on self-deprecation. Because it's very relatable, and as we all know, relatable things are haha so funny. Dang, there's a lot of lava today. Not every day do I just get like a bunch of lava pools that I have to dig through and clean up. Very annoying. I'm glad I have like a system for this, but I mean, it still sucks. Hoi. Hoi, hoi, hoi. Yeah, no, I think, okay, is this just like a random pool of lava down here? Does it keep going? Is that, or was that it? Oh. I see. Yeah, no, there's just this random like line of lava. I don't understand why it's like this. That is very strange. I don't think I've ever seen this before, where it's literally just a random block line of lava. I mean, I have to deal with it somehow, I guess. Yeah, no, this is really just like, I mean, okay, it wasn't a line because I've already cleaned up some of it. It was probably closer to like 3 lines or 3 blocks. What the fudge is going on, man? How did I do that? I don't know how many blocks I had left in that diamond pickaxe of mine. How did I manage to do that? How did I push the Q button? The Q button is the throw button, right? Or like how to throw. How the fudge did I do that? Wait, what? I am in genuine disbelief how I managed to throw that diamond pickaxe into the lava like that. I've literally never like done that before. I forgot that you could throw items using the Q button. I'm gonna be honest, I completely forgot that you could do that. I mean, the good thing is that diamond pickaxe is pretty close to dying, but like... Alright, sure. Well, I guess that's the stream. I only meant to dig up till I finished off 2 diamond pickaxes, and that was my second one. Funnily enough, the timing worked out. The idea of these streams is to only be like an hour or 2 long, and I figured running from one end of the tunnel to the other, use 2 diamond pickaxes, and then run all the way back should be around an hour to 2 hours long. Of course, every single time I do this, it's gonna get longer and longer because the tunnel's gonna get longer. But hopefully I'll keep finding iron so that I can keep making rails, so that I can continue the railway, because we're running out here. But yeah, I actually did manage to finish everything. Rail time, not yet. We have a long way to run because I haven't fully covered the tunnel, or I haven't reached the entire way of the tunnel with the rail system. How did I actually manage to do that though? That's the first time I've ever done that. I've been doing planned streams for 2 years. Of course, I've been doing like one every month or one every 2 months of digging this freaking tunnel. But like, that was crazy. They did change iron rates. I think it's because the layer that I am currently digging at has no iron. That's why. I know perfectly well why I've not found that much iron. It's because I'm digging at a layer that has nothing. Which makes perfect sense, I think. So I haven't been finding that much. I've been finding some every once in a while, obviously. I should have started this world before the cliff update, so that I didn't have to deal with all this, and instead of this deep slate, I'd be digging through just normal stone and cobblestone, because cobblestone has like slightly less time to break. Or I could have started digging like not as deep as this where all the deep slate is, but I mean I wanted to dig like right above bedrock. That's really the only reason. Iron farm time? No, because that requires me to get villagers and crap, and the whole point of this world is to only dig, and that's it. Could I maybe like figure out a way to go into creative mode and figure all that out? Yeah, but I'm trying to be fully self-sufficient and not use creative mode as often. I've only used it once, and that was to spawn wood so that I could get down here in the first place, and also so I could get a little bit of coal to start things off. There's no way I'm gonna find a way to start a village at my location in order to farm iron golems for iron. It's too much freaking work. I swear, this tunnel is way too freaking long, dude. This is getting ridiculous. Is that the minecart? Yeah, it's a minecart. Nice. Now we're getting places. I think like the railway only covers like maybe half of the tunnel. Maybe. I'm not actually sure. But I forgot how fast running is in Minecraft. It was like 5 blocks a second, right? Or something like that. And using a rail is like 7 or 8 blocks a second. So you increase your traversal time by like 40%. There's probably a way to calculate, I mean there is a way to calculate how long the tunnel is, like off the railroad and stuff, by like timing the amount of time it takes to go from one end to the other, and then just multiplying it by the amount of blocks that you travel within that period of time. But that's too much work, and I stopped doing math when I graduated high school, so to put things very simply, because math sucks. I was about to say nobody likes math. That's not true. I know some people do have to at least appreciate and like, or at least appreciate math in order to do certain jobs. such as coding. But not this guy. Whew. All right, well that was a stream. I mean, I obviously meant to talk about like the VTubing stuff today. I thought I would have more to cover, but I guess not. I know my next topic for the next stream that I'm prepping of this nature will take a little bit longer. Wait a second. I do want to. Oh, I don't have a pickaxe though. And now I do. I need to like. I just broke a piece of gravel with that. I'm sad. I need redstone. I need that. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Never do that. Do that. And the reason I'm doing this is because if I want there to be like a proper way to stop this, which is why I only need one block, so I can push the button and it'll just go. But if I make it too, it doesn't go as fast, so I need to set it this way so it goes faster. So I guess I have a single rail in there. Yeah, this tunnel is getting pretty long. It's pretty ridiculous. I'm gonna be honest with you. And before you ask, my Minecraft skin is one that only I need to. Oh, both trees grew. Let's go. I'll harvest those after I end stream. Let me nom some bread though. Short stream today. I mean, I expected that, but a lot shorter than I expected, especially after I chucked my pickaxe into the lava. Short stream. I'll go back to my 3-4 hour streams on Thursday. Probably some more Pal World. I've been playing a lot of Pal World, honestly, in my own personal server. Just because I really like the game. And I didn't mind starting a new world for stream, but I have a lot more obligation to my own personal world than I do my stream world. I do like my stream world though, and I do want to continue working on it, but that'll be the next time when I stream on Thursday. But yeah, that was today's stream. Let me that was F1. Let me check if there is anyone streaming that I could raid. I've like reached the point with streaming where I can't tell who I should or should not raid. Okay, that doesn't make sense. I've reached a point with streaming where it's like it's been so long since I've interacted with certain people that I can't tell if we're close enough to raid, and then I realize it doesn't matter. I've raided complete strangers before. So it shouldn't matter in terms of that, or yeah, from that perspective. But I still have that weird feeling tied to it. I think one day, I guess for now, I'm just not very comfortable with raiding. Maybe one day I'll get back into that. But thank you guys for watching. That was weird. Thank you guys for watching this really short stream. I'm glad I properly set some things up, so most things, I would say everything, but not everything worked out today. Most things did though. One thing I still need to figure out is why chat looks so freaking distorted. It looks squished. I don't know why it looks that squished. It kind of looks like you're looking up at chat, if that makes sense. Like the credits, or like the beginning of a Star Wars movie when the text starts like scrolling, but it's like slightly tilted. That's what it kind of looks like. And I don't know why it looks like that. I'm gonna have to fix that because I don't like it. to say that quite frankly. I'll figure it out. It doesn't matter. Thank you guys for watching. good morning, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time it may be for you. If you haven't, please get up, stretch, get a drink of water. If it's late at night, I don't think it would be, but if it is, please get a good night's sleep. And I'll see you guys on Thursday. Probably a little bit later than today's stream. But we'll see you Thursday, where I'll be playing some more Hell World on my stream account, or my stream world, because, you know, I need to work on that. I'm worried that I'm gonna pace Pal World in a way where I play so much of it in my normal account that I get sick of it and I just stop playing it on stream because that's like a whole different world. We'll see. I hope that doesn't happen, because I have been enjoying the game a lot, but we'll see how things go. But yeah, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. What the heck is happening with my stream ending bit? Why is it frozen like that? What's going on? I have no idea what's going on with it. Oh, there it goes.